Hey guys, welcome back, you beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Inside the Parenting Matrix with Big Papa Bryan Post. So glad you guys joined me for another episode. This week we are going to tackle Dr. Phil and one of his little clips on an out-of-control teenager. You guys know Dr. Phil very well. He's been on TV for a long time now. He lays it down. He does the real talk. He does tough love. And he just tells these teens just the way it is, and sometimes tells these parents too. So I'm looking forward to getting into this little clip. Now, this is a much shorter clip. I can't really find a good episode that doesn't have a lot of other stuff on it. So we're gonna just look at this little clip. It's gonna actually tell us a lot, just in the dynamics. This is just classic inside the parenting matrix. Communication to a teenager who's obviously struggling. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and get on into it. All right, Dr. Phil, here we go.
I think you're bullying your parents, and I think you kind of yell and scream to get your way. I want you to look at yourself here. I think sometimes it helps people to kind of look at themselves through other people's eyes.
So Dr. Phil goes right in on this young lady by saying, I think you bully your parents and you yell and scream to get your way. And then he's gonna go into a live video clip that the family obviously recorded. So one of the things I want you to pick up on is inside the parenting matrix, we have a perspective of children that they are out of control, that they are defiant, they are disrespectful, and they are willing to try to make their parents' life a living hell. And for years and years, decades now, there's been a movement called tough love. And tough love is when apparently the parents do tough things with the children so that the children learn that, you can't behave this way and things are going to have to change. And so Dr. Phil is probably one of the most popular tough love proponents. So let's watch this clip of this little girl who is bullying her parents and yelling to get her way.
No, you're supposed to clean your iPad. I did it last week. You did it. Yes, I did that. No, you didn't. I know for 100% that.
Let her sit there. You get nothing. I want my iPad.
No.
Listen, she doesn't have. Listen to me.
No, here are the rules.
My iPad.
No, I'm using it.
It's mine.
No, I'm using it.
We'll
You
ask
can't
the police.
just cut my stuff like that.
We'll ask the police what they think.
Told you to get your ass downstairs. I cleaned it last week. Half-ass.
What do you?
I mean.
So it's really interesting how everyone's attention is focused on this child. I mean, Dr. Phil is looking at her. He's like, what, how do you come to justify your screaming and your cursing and your yelling at your parents? But we're not one time looking at mom and dad and saying, what's going on here, guys? What is all the yelling about? You are wanting this child, you are accusing this child of yelling to get her way, but what's showing up right here on this video clip is you're yelling at her. You're even using curse words at her. And then dad's threatening her with the police, and he knows he's not going to call the police. He knows he's not going to call the police, but he's using the threat. And the little girl is screaming back. She's cussing back. Yes, she is. But this is not a one-sided dynamic. And this is just obvious proof that this is a family who everyone feels overwhelmed. And what I want you to pay particular attention to is the facial expressions of both the mom and the dad versus the facial expressions of the little girl. And watch how mom and dad are more like adolescents. And Dr. Phil is the parent. He's the parent who's taking control. He's taking charge. He's going to put this little teenager in her place. So watch the unspoken communication that occurs with this group of adults towards this teenager. And listen to what the teenager says.
You didn't see anything before that? Like, yeah, that's me. You didn't see anything before that? Like, yeah.
What do you?
I mean, you didn't see anything before that? Like, yeah, that's me in the moment, and I understand that, but that was right after my dad ripped my door off the hinges.
What do you think about your conduct in that video? What do you think about that?
They were just like both just bashing on me, saying things and whatnot, and then
That's not true.
So what is true?
She was sleeping and she has all these animals. So it was cleaning.
I love this facial expression.
So what is
me saying things
I love this facial expression of the mom.
and whatnot, and then
It is very adolescent.
Not true.
So what is true?
She was sleeping and she has all these animals. So it was cleaning animal day and we woke her up at like 2 o'clock and she was really mad. The door didn't come down that day.
yes, it did. You could see the pieces.
Well, it was hanging by a
Have
string.
you ripped the door off her room?
Yeah, the door's off her room.
Did you rip it off?
It was hanging there, so I just took it off. Yes.
Did you rip it off?
Yes.
So that's a yes. You grabbed it in
I grabbed
anger,
it.
ripped it off.
Pulled it off.
There's a
Door.
lot of damage inside the house.
So isn't it interesting how Dr. Phil had to ask the dad several times, did you rip the door off? And how the dad gave him several different ways of saying, yes, I ripped the door off, before he finally said, yes, I ripped the door off. So there's this level of shame for his own behaviors. But we're going to stay focused on this teenager.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like, take a look at this picture. This is your brush.
Yeah, that's my brush.
Did you throw it into the wall?
Well, I didn't.
So I also find it interesting that we didn't get a better close-up of the door being ripped off the hinges. See, in the parenting matrix, when we get mired in our fear and our motivations are to control and suppress behaviors, not to understand, not to strengthen relationship, not to strengthen the ability to influence, not to help the child feel more secure, not to help the child feel more loved, not to help the child feel more heard, not to really investigate the hopelessness of the parents, the fear of the parents, the shame of the parents, the struggle of the parents, and their own feelings of inadequacy to connect to their child. We don't do any of that inside the parenting matrix. Inside the parenting matrix, we just try to create more anxiety and more justification for what our behaviors are going to be that follow the inappropriate behavior. So we're just really, in this little clip, and this is only a 3.5-minute clip, we're really just creating more justification for what the final recommendations are to the mom and the dad and the daughter.
I didn't mean to. I threw it, but I didn't know it would go into the wall.
But it did.
Yeah.
So
And so this reminds me, so let me back it up just a little bit.
this picture, this is your brush.
Yeah, that's my brush.
Did you throw it into the wall?
Well, I didn't mean to. I threw it, but I didn't know it would go into the wall.
But it did.
Yeah.
So you got to be pretty angry in that moment. You've broken dishes. Did you break these dishes?
She said she didn't mean to throw the brush into the wall. She said, I did throw the brush, but I didn't mean to throw it into the wall. And what's interesting is that one of the parents needed to take a picture to have justification. See, now we're back into justification. We're in justification, we're in validation, we're in rationalization of the out of control nature of our child and why we are out of control. See, it's a very blame focused dynamic. you find the justification. So the parents, again, dishes break. The first thing to go do is to go get a camera and take a picture, because you need justification for why you feel so overwhelmed and so helpless. Now, the problem with this experience that this mom and dad and this daughter are locked in inside the parenting matrix is that it only gets worse. So there's never any breakthrough in the communication dynamics to help either of the three understand why is it so freaking out of control. It's just more justification or rationalization of why our world is turned upside down, why our reality is so distorted, why our lives are so miserable. So you just look for more justification, more validation, which this layers on the stress and the fear that's already existing in the home.
No, I didn't. I
Who
did not
broke
break
these
those
dishes?
dishes.
The whole, you see the metal thing, the black metal
I
thing,
did not throw.
those were the bowls in them. She threw it off the counter.
Did you rake all these dishes off the counter and break them?
Not that I remember. I don't remember throwing those.
And you've never broken dishes in the house?
Maybe, but I don't like take
Maybe.
a dish and smash it.
Well, you whip things.
Well, how about these walls here? There are these are patch holes in your
Well,
wall.
some are just chips in the paint or something.
Do you knock holes in the wall in anger?
Like once or twice a long time ago. When was
You
the
don't
last
hit
time?
my wall?
No, when was the last time?
Did you throw your iPad across the room?
No.
I thought it was funny that there wasn't an answer. So, do you feel the teenager just being under attack? She's under attack, and she's actually holding herself together very well in this dynamic. For someone who's supposed to be out of control, she's under attack, and she's getting it from three different directions. And then she asked the mom, she said, "When was the last time I kicked a hole in the wall?" And mom just made a smirky face because she couldn't even remember herself. But when we're in rationalization and justification to justify the pain that we're in, then it doesn't matter. See, inside the parenting matrix, we are not looking for solutions. We're not looking for improved relationships. We're not looking for improved communication. We're not looking to help understand why mom and dad feel so overwhelmed and why this teenager feels so overwhelmed and what happened in the history of these three people that caused this scenario, caused this behavior to become so ingrained that they can't break out of it. Because inside the parenting matrix, this is the way it is. It's the way it is until the adults regain control, regain the upper hand. And it just leads to the severing of relationship time and time and time and time again.
Why would I throw my iPad across?
At a doctor's appointment?
No.
You spit on it. She
Really?
spit on
Well,
it.
let's take a look at this tape.
See, oh God, it's overwhelming. It is literally overwhelming. It's energetic. It's energetically overwhelming for me because I don't feel like there's any real purpose to what's happening here on TV. We are only, and you have to remember, we are the adults. We are supposed to be the regulatory figures in the lives of these children. She is 16 years old. She is right in the middle of adolescence. She is right in the middle of major brain changes. Her brain is on fire. So she's not fully developed. She's not supposed to be the adult. If anyone has justification and validation to be out of control, it's actually her. She's a teenager. And teenagers in adolescence, their brain goes on fire and it prunes down everything that hadn't been used up until that point. So if there truly is a justification for behavior, it actually is hers. But we're not doing that. What we're doing is we're blaming her, we're focusing on her, we're putting her under the microscope, and we're just looking for more justification and rationalization.
Did you give me this for? It's yours. Hold on. Why should I have taken in the recycle bins for you?
Because I asked you to.
So you asked me to do something, I have to do it. Are you retarded? Am I like a slave? Are you stupid?
I'm asking you. I said, did you throw your iPad? No. I
I
just
said-
played a
no.
video. You threw your iPad.
No, I set it down and the noise of the thing of the doctor's office made that noise because it's paper.
Again, it's a really short episode, but I think you get the point of how we focus in the parenting matrix, how we focus on the negative, how we focus, and what we do is we create rationalizations and justifications for why everything is the way it is, instead of looking for what is at the root of these challenges, and how can we understand that as a family, how we got to this place to begin with. There's so much going on here that's left unaccounted for. There's so many dynamics here. There's so much pain that this family is in that is being completely discounted, and the focus is being all put on this 16-year-old and her behavior. And I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about the stress model. It's my theory on human behavior. It says all behavior arises from a state of stress. And in between the behavior and the stress is the presence of our primary emotion. There are only two primary emotions, love and fear. It's through the expression, the processing, and the understanding of the fear that we calm the stress and diminish the behavior. So the stress model says all behavior arises from a state of stress. So the challenges that this 16-year-old are going through are all stress and fear-based. And then the challenges in the parent's ability to relate to her or inability to relate to her are stress and fear-based. And so I want to go back and I want to look at the very beginning video that he shows and listen to the intensity of the dynamics. Everyone is mired in stress and overwhelm. And the thing I like to point out about the stress model is that it's interactive in nature, meaning that for a child, all behavior arises from a state of stress. In between behaviors and the stress is the presence of an emotion. It's through the expression of processing and the understanding of the fear. There are only two primary emotions, love and fear. It's through the expression, the processing, and the understanding of the fear that we calm the stress and diminish the behavior. But fundamentally, all behavior, doesn't matter what the behavior is, arises from a state of stress. Here's the way it becomes dynamic. As soon as the behavior surfaces, the parents, in this instance, see the behavior, and what happens in their brain, they become stressed. So now they're in a stress model. So all behavior arises from a state of stress, yet when we see behavior, we become stressed. When we become stressed, that stress generates one of two primary emotions, love or fear. In this instance, it's generating fear. When it generates fear, it then generates our behavior. So let's watch it again and let's see how that shows up.
I think you're bullying your parents, and I think you kind of yell and scream to get your way. I want you to look at yourself here. I think sometimes it helps people to kind of look at themselves through other people's eyes.
I need to sleep. You're supposed to clean.
Kind of yell and scream.
I like to watch body language. I like to watch facial gestures, facial expressions. I want you to watch her facial expression when Dr. Phil mentions this video. And if you really just watch her expression, her body language the entire time, she's stressed and she's sad. This is a sad little girl who really feels like she's defending herself against everyone. She's defending herself at home. Now she's on national television defending herself to Dr. Phil.
Scream to get your way. I want you to look at yourself here. I think sometimes it helps people to kind of look at themselves through other people's eyes.
I need to sleep. You're supposed to clean. I cleaned it last week. You did it. I knew it.
Completely out of control situation. And what's going on here is that the parents are upset because the girl has all these animals and she's not cleaning up after them. And it's 2 o'clock and they've gone in and woken her up, and they're obviously pissed when they go in and wake her up, and they want her to get up and clean. And you hear her say she did clean, and mom says half-assed, halfway. So whatever cleaning she did was not thorough enough for mom's satisfaction. Now here's another way we get locked into the parenting matrix. This child obviously is not 16 emotionally. Emotionally, she seems more like a 9-year-old, more like an overwhelmed 9-year-old. And I don't know how many animals she has, but she's obviously not capable of caring for the animals on her own. So when we operate outside of the matrix, well, first let me tell you, when we're inside of the matrix, what we're going to do is we're going to continue to blame her, we're going to continue to shame her, and then we're going to get rid of her animals and we're going to make it her fault. That's what we do inside of the matrix. Or we're going to care for the animals and we're going to be resentful, and there's going to be a lot of snide remarks all, as long as for the next couple of years till this little girl's in the home. Outside of the matrix, we can recognize that at 16, she's completely overwhelmed because she's actually more emotionally 9. And we can just say, look, I know you're not going to like this, and it's going to make you unhappy, and it's probably going to make you really sad, honey, but we cannot care for these animals. I'm not interested in caring for these animals. I don't want these animals, and I'm sorry I let you get them because I set you up, because I should have realized that you weren't yet ready to have this many animals. We're going to be left with one animal. We're going to go through the process. We're going to find them a good home. And I know it's going to make you really sad and really angry. And it hurts me too, because I don't want to have to get rid of them, but I'm not interested in taking care of them. And you can't either. And so it's just not fair to you. It's not fair to us. It's not fair to the animals. Bam, end of conversation. She's going to be mad. She's already mad. But see, the difference is we're taking responsibility as the parents. As the adults, we're taking responsibility for the fact that she's completely overwhelmed. And then she's got her room that's a complete mess. Okay, if it is that important for her room to be clean, then what we're going to do is, number one, we're going to help her clean it on a regular basis. We're going to go in and say, honey, when it's cleaning day, we're going to go in and help her clean it. And remember, emotionally, she's 9 years old. She's not 16. So at 9 years old, what's happening is she's completely overwhelmed. And the cleaning is not up to our expectations. So if we're going to be so focused on the cleanliness of her bedroom, then we're going to go in and we're going to help her clean it. If we're not, we're going to put the freaking door back on the door, on the hinges, so we ain't got to look at the freaking room. Because if we're that stressed about how dirty it is, put the dang door back on the room and don't look at it. Keep the door closed. However, if the room being clean is really important to you, clean it with your child. I used to always, as a kid, I always kept my room clean. Cleaned that to my standards, right? Organized. Yet there were sometimes I'd come home from school when my mom had been off work for the day and she would have cleaned the entire house, my room included. Cool. It got dusted. It got more organized. It was always really clean and looked really good. Never had a problem with that. But intermittently, and that probably only happened once every 4 or 5 months, if that. I mean, that may have happened 5 times during the span of 17 years that I recall. But the thing is she'd go in and do it and she'd help me. I always had the door on my room. I never had the door off. And I'm just saying, if parents are that concerned, they should keep the door on the hinges.
No, you didn't.
I know for 100% that.
Let her sit there. You get nothing. I want my iPad.
Okay, so this is what's interesting inside the parenting matrix. We like to layer on the stress. See, when we become stressed, we like to layer on the stress. We like to make it more intense. We don't realize it. It's our amygdala, because what our amygdala is doing is saying we're experiencing a threat right now, and the best thing we can do, we have got to remove the threat. We've got to suppress the threat. We've got to control the threat. So we increase the agitation. We increase the agitation because we're agitated. We increase the fear and the stress because we're stressed and afraid. We don't diminish it. What did the parents have to do here? What's the only thing they had to do? One of them just needed to walk away. The other one of them could have just calmed down. Could have just calmed down and said, honey, I'm sorry, let's just take a break. We got started off wrong here. They could have awakened the child in a different way. They could have expressed the expectations the day before. They could have made sure she was going to sleep at a decent hour. There's a whole lot of things that we could have done. And that's why I always say you're focusing on the process and not the outcome. This is the outcome. Focusing on the outcome is just going to get you more stress. You got to focus on the process. What is the process of things that occur to get you to the outcome? So listen to all the chaos and listen to how the parents they're just increasing the agitation.
I know for 100% that.
Let her sit there. You get nothing.
She said, I know for 100% fact I cleaned. So she's defending herself. She's not being aggressive. She's defending herself because she's feeling attacked. And mom said it was half-ass. And dad said, you get nothing. So now it's just getting layered on.
I want my iPad. No! Listen, she doesn't have. Listen to me.
No, here are the rules.
So now look at dad pointing his finger. Dr. Phil doesn't address any of this. He hadn't addressed any of this. And he may have later in the episode. I don't know. I can't find it. I'd love to find it. And in future Inside the Parenting Matrix episodes, I will make sure I include the full episode because I like to see the pseudo breakthrough that they create for the show, but it's not addressing anything. It's not addressing this dynamic. And at the end of the day, right now we're addressing this. It's all directed towards a teenager. She's going to walk away feeling bad about it. I mean, she's going to walk away feeling attacked. She's going to walk away feeling ashamed. Look at her face. Look at her face. She does not feel good in this scene. It is very painful for her. Dad wants his iPad back. He's pointing his finger at her. And mom says these are the rules. This is the worst time to try to establish the rules when you're in the midst of a screaming match. Everyone is freaking stressed out. So the rules just become another mechanism for control. The rules just become another mechanism for overpowering and getting your way. The rules become an attempt to bully. And it's the same thing we're accusing the child of doing with her parents. And then it's the same thing that ultimately Dr. Phil is doing to the child, just in a gentler way, a kinder way. But he's still bullying her. He's still telling her she's out of control and she's bullying her parents and she needs to clean up her act. And how could you possibly do this? So the very thing that we're trying to overcome with this child, we're actually creating as adults.
Using it!
It's mine.
No, I'm using it!
We'll
You
ask
can't
the
just
police.
cut my off like that!
We'll ask the police what they think.
Told you to get your ass downstairs.
I cleaned it!
Mom's telling her to get her ass downstairs. You guys don't want her downstairs. Leave her up in her room. Leave her little stressed out self alone. Let her cool down. You guys go cool down. Everyone take a freaking breathing break. Can we all just take a love break? Right? Can we all just settle down for a minute? Because where is this situation going? It's just going to be worse. And that's what happens inside the parenting matrix.
Half-ass.
What do you?
I mean, you didn't see anything before that? Like, yeah, that's me in the moment, and I understand that, but that was right after my dad ripped my door off the hinges.
What do you think about your conduct in that video? What do you think about that?
They were just like,
Watch this anxiety response. See, inside the matrix, we would call this her making a snide facial expression. When you're outside the matrix, you look beyond the facial expression and you sense the energy. What's the energy behind the expression?
Think about your conduct in that video. What do you think about that?
they were just like both just bashing on me, saying things and whatnot. And then
That's not true.
So what is true?
She was sleeping,
Oh, I must
and
have
she
missed
has
it.
all these animals. So it was cleaning.
I missed it. And you can look at her face right there. Not good. And here we go.
for that, like, yeah, that's me in the moment, and I understand that, but that was right after my dad ripped my door off the hinges.
What do you?
See that? That is not a smile. That is anxiety. That's anxiety. That's almost like a classic survival reaction, to smile to try to off-put the threat. She's completely overwhelmed.
Think about your conduct in that video. What do you think about that?
They were just like both just bashing on me, saying things and whatnot. And then
That's not true.
So what is true?
She was sleeping, and she has all these animals.
What you're really experiencing here is you're experiencing a mom and a dad who are regressing to an adolescent state, and then they are trying to overpower their 9-year-old sibling. That's what's going on here. That's where the conflict is occurring. Mom and dad are getting stressed out and they're becoming adolescents and they're yelling and screaming because that's what they know to do, because that's their inside the parenting matrix conditioning. So when they get stressed out, they're going right back to their old imprints. I bet you both mom and dad came from homes of screamers. I bet you both mom and dad came from homes where the parents got upset and ripped doors off the hinges and threatened. So that's what's going on in this dynamic. Mom and dad are getting scared and overwhelmed and regressing to adolescence, and the little girl is regressing to about a 9-year-old.
So it was cleaning animal day, and we woke her up at like 2 o'clock, and she was really mad. The door didn't come down that day.
Yes, it did. You could see the pieces.
Well, it was hanging by a string.
Have you ripped the door off her?
So, oh my gosh. I love this. I love the kind of things, these little subtle communications where the parents are accusing the child of lying, and then the child actually turns out to be the one who's being logical. Mom says the door didn't come down that day, and the little girl says, yes, it did. And mom said, well, it was hanging off the hinges. Same thing that dad said. Dad said the door's off. Dad said, yes, I've taken the door off. And dad says 3 different ways how he didn't rip the door off the hinges. Mom's trying to make it seem like the door was already off. The daughter's like, no, the door came down that day. And mom's like, well, it was hanging off. It's just interesting to me how in our adult brains we get so overwhelmed, we get so stressed, our thinking and our thinking processes get so confused and distorted, our short-term memory gets so suppressed that we literally are acting like overwhelmed adolescents.
2 o'clock, and she was really mad. The door didn't come down that day.
Yes, it did. You could see the pieces.
Well, it was hanging by a string.
Have you ripped the door off her room?
Yeah, the door's off her room.
Did you rip it off?
It was hanging there, so I just took it off.
Did you rip it off?
Yes.
So that's a yes. You grabbed it in
I grabbed
anger
it.
and ripped it off?
Folded off.
There's a lot of damage inside the house, right?
Yeah.
He still said pulled it off. He didn't want to give in to ripped it off. Yes, I ripped it off.
Like, take a look at this picture. This is your brush.
Yeah, that's my brush.
Did you throw it into the wall?
Well, I didn't mean to. I threw it, but I didn't know it would go into the wall.
But it did.
Yeah, it did.
So you got to be pretty angry in that moment. You've broken dishes. Did you break these dishes?
No, I didn't. I
Who
did not
broke
break
these
those
dishes?
dishes.
She threw the whole, you see the metal thing, the black metal thing.
I did not throw it.
Those were the bowls in them. And she threw it off the counter.
Did you rake all these dishes off the counter and break them?
Not that I remember. I don't remember throwing those.
And you've never broken dishes in the house?
Maybe, but I don't like take
Maybe.
a dish and smash it.
Well,
Okay.
you whip things.
Well, how about these walls here? There are these are patch holes in your
Well,
walls.
some are just chips in the paint or something.
Do you knock holes in the wall in anger?
Like once or twice a long time ago.
Christy.
When
You
was the
don't
last
kick
time?
my wall?
No, when was the last time?
Did you throw your iPad?
So you begin to wonder, where is the truth? Like, where is the reality of the situation? Because the little girl is being interrogated and she's giving back responses, and the parents are giving back reactions, and the girl gives back another response, and the parents are not able to validate. So there's really no honoring. There's no honoring of the child at all. She's under attack. And mom and dad need to feel justified. And Dr. Phil is feeding into that as well. He's feeding into the justification of the child being bad. And this is classic inside the parenting matrix behavior towards children. And this is how families end up being stuck. This isn't helping anyone. This is not empowering mom and dad. It's not empowering them. It's not giving them a different way to see their daughter. It's not giving them a different way to see themselves. It's not giving them a different way to see the potential to restore and repair their relationship and help these 3 people get more connected.
Across the room?
No. Why would I throw my iPad across the room?
At a doctor's appointment?
No.
You spit on it. She
Really?
spit on
Well,
it.
let's.
So it's not just through your iPad across the room. It's now you spit on me. It's so interesting how we just layer things on, and then we get to just. So I'm just curious as to when you see mom. Is mom filming the little girl, like holding her camera up? Because if she's filming the little girl while the little girl is having an episode, then mom's she's in a lot of ways just perpetuating it because she needs more justification and rationalization. Because we need this material for someone. We need it for the police. We need it for the courts. We need it for Dr. Phil, because we have to be able to protect ourselves. So if the parents are stressed out in survival, what state do you expect the child to be in? If the parents are in a state of stress and survival, can the child get to a place of relaxation, love, security, and being understood?
Let's take a look at this tape.
What the did you give me this for? It's yours. Hold on. Why should I have taken in the recycle bins for you?
Because I asked you to.
So you asked me to do something, I have to do it. Are you retarded? Am I like a slave? Are you stupid?
I'm asking you. I said, did you throw your iPad? No, I just
said-
played a
no.
video. You threw your iPad.
No, I set it down, and the noise of the thing of the doctor's office made that noise because it's paper.
That's good, huh? That is good. All right, guys. I know this one wasn't real long, wasn't a lot of different scenarios, but that's the point. The point is we can take short scenarios inside the parenting matrix and we can break them down when we're operating outside of the parenting matrix, because it's looking at things from a completely different perspective. When you do that, you will get different results. You will get different outcomes because your process is different. Thank you for joining me this week. God bless you. Keep working to transcend the parenting matrix. We'll see you next time.